All right, let's talk about the Pokemon Presents, which is mostly just Pokemon Legends ZA.
I'm out.
All right, see you, Zach. I will say, out of all the random stuff that got announced, the only one where I was just like, "Oh hell yeah, that's pretty cool," even though I don't play the game anymore, is Link's coming to Pokemon Unite. I love that little anal bead, bro. So I saw that and I got pretty excited. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's really cool. But other than that, it's all your standard shit: Pokemon Master Sex, Pokemon Go stuff, Pokemon Sleep, just stuff like that. So, what? Yeah,
I'm gonna assume that was a Freudian slip.
No, Pokemon Master Sex.
He likes to make the joke because it's Pokemon Masters EX. So he just likes to say Pokemon Master Sex.
Yeah, because that's how it blew up on Twitter. Because it was, it's one hashtag, right? And one wrong capital letter, and it's Pokemon Master Sex. Because that's what happened. I think it was the Pokemon Twitter accidentally capitalized the wrong letter. They capitalized the S, and it started trending when they did the change from Pokemon Masters to Pokemon Masters EX. It was trending all over Twitter as Pokemon Master Sex. It was just one of those things that was an accidental social media slip up, which I love. I love it when those happen because Nintendo has had quite a bit of those, and people have definitely keep those screenshots on handy. You know what I mean? But yeah, all the general stuff, it was all whatever. The Pokemon Unite thing, just a single shot of like Miraidon. He's out right now. Ceruledge is coming out in the near future, but Phalanx is coming out. I thought that was really cool to see him get included. But obviously the big announcement, though, Pokemon Legends ZA. So we are getting the Legends game that we are kind of like, we're getting that. We're getting a remake. We're getting Let's Go, whatever. But we're getting what John hoped for. We're going back to Kalos, kind of.
I don't remember if this is what I know. This is what I said I wanted.
I don't know
if I said it's what was happening.
I don't remember either. I'll have to go back and look at the first episode of the year.
Wanting, but you were very doubtful of it.
Well, yeah, I did. I don't remember if I locked in Gen. I don't know if I locked in Gen 2 or Gen 6.
Okay.
I think you went Gen 6 because you were saying they would skip Gen 5.
Yeah, it's like I don't remember which one I locked in as my official prediction, but man, I was on something here.
Yeah. No, you were onto something before anyone else.
I was not. It's like I wasn't expecting Kalos, but like I said when we were doing predictions, I love the Kalos region.
Yeah, and it's the one region that deserves.
I feel like a lot of people didn't care for it as much. I think for a lot of people it was kind of underwhelming, or they just, a lot of people liked what was around it, like Mega Evolution and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but I think the region itself, people didn't care for too much. But I love the region. It's like this. It was the game that like 6th gen is what got me back into Pokemon.
Yeah.
Well, I was out for a long time. That's what brought me back in. So I'm very happy to see.
So you're happy to see it, but how do you feel knowing that you won't get to actually explore Kalos? Like, what do you think about this approach? Because that's the big question.
Because that was the weird. Because I did watch the trailer. So you're going to be sectioned to this.
Just to the city.
It's going to be in sections.
It's just the city is all you can explore. Lumineo City. Apparently, like they had a thing on the screen where it was like urban development plan or something. So I'm feeling like it's a Pokemon Legends, but it's more futuristic. But like the vibe that I understand is like, think of like what a GTA 4 map looks like. I mean, it's going to be a big map.
I mean, that's what I was looking at. It looked like it was going to be like different districts and whatnot.
Yes, because like they've mentioned that lakes will be in there and stuff like that, to cover your water Pokemon and stuff. So, like it's going to be big. Like it's not going to be what X and Y was.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I don't really have any expectations for it. Necessarily of what I expect it to be like. The fact that it's all in the city, which when I first watched it, I didn't quite understand why because they have kind of the outline of the city that they're kind of going through, and it's kind of drawing a blueprint out in that, which I didn't quite get that at first. And then as soon as you sent me a message saying like, "Oh, it seems like this is what it is," I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm down for it.
Yeah,
because it's like one thing we beat to death with Pokemon is do something. It's like either
be innovative,
just fully dive in and give us exactly what we've been asking for with like the full open, do whatever you want to type thing, or do something different to freshen it up.
Yeah,
and it looks like we're doing something different here. So regardless of what it like how it ends up playing, I'm glad to see at least a shift in mindset. Like at least it's Pokemon, but we're gonna do something weird
Yeah.
I'm
because
feeling
we don't
turf
get that a
wars.
lot.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
Said I'm feeling turf wars.
Yeah, I'm feeling turf war vibes. Because I saw a lot of people immediately say it's like this is basically Pokemon's attempt at like making like kind of dipping their toes. Like this is gonna be their version of almost like what a GTA or a Cyberpunk would be. You know what I mean?
Because like from the little bit we got in the trailer of the overview at the top, it was very distinct districts sort of
Yes.
blocked off and everything.
So I
So
picture a thing like what you're saying with turf wars, where we won't have one evil team, but we'll potentially have like four.
and never they may not even necessarily be evil teams.
Yeah, true. They may not be evil teams. You're right. Yeah.
They just may be fighting for control. But the whole other thing with that is, which I highly doubt it is that the whole thing it's a reestablishing for a city for coexistence between people and Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how that's going to play because as what it looked like, I don't know if it's a past thing or futuristic thing because I couldn't really tell.
That's
So I
tough to
could only,
tell.
so I'm almost curious if it's a story of how Team Plasma came about.
See that's gonna be the very curious thing. You know what I mean? Because it's like that's what I want to. From how it kind of looked, I almost thought like this feels kind of futuristic, but at the same time, it's like, is this like the building of the city, or is this like just expanding of the city? You know what I mean?
Was that city in X and Y? I
Yeah,
assume it
yeah,
was.
yeah. It's the main city
Yeah,
of the game.
it was like the main thing. You didn't. I mean, it was the DS games. So you didn't get the most exploration of it.
Yeah, it was just a big
But
circle, basically.
yeah, basically a big circle you got to walk around. But I
What
I
is
don't
the
know.
team in X and Y? I
Huh?
said Team Platinum, but that's not right, is it?
It's
Magma. No, flare,
No.
flare.
Team
Yeah.
Flare.
I
Yeah,
was
Team
thinking
Flare.
Star, but that wasn't right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because
Team
I was
Flare.
thinking of a different gen when I said Platinum.
Plasma that's Gen 4, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Gen 4
Yeah.
Plasma.
No. Plasma's 5. Galactic is 4.
You're right.
Yep.
I was gonna say, wouldn't like watching the trailer the first time, my mind instinctively goes to building of the city, specifically because of them drawing out the circle of it,
Yeah.
kind of laying the city out is what it
That
looks
would make
like.
sense, yeah.
And like this, the other thing is, it's a Legends game. So far, the only Legends game we have is based on like going back in time, the historical beginnings of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume that it's a back in time of like what the city was originally supposed to be versus, and then maybe by the end of the game, it ends up what it like how it is in the like the modern Gen 6.
And you know what? Something else to keep in mind that it is probably a pass in time is just the title of the game being ZA.
Legends.
No, ZA. Because keep in mind, there's the one character in X and Y that we have almost no context on, being AZ, who was like a king like 3,000 years ago or some shit, whatever he was in like the Great War that took place in the Kalos region, and his little arc throughout the game. So the fact that the game is called ZA tells me that we're going to potentially get to see AZ's story.
Yeah, I assume that he's going to be kind of either a focal point, or at least like maybe not a focal point, but like the story, like we're kind of playing along, doing our thing in the story, but he's always there and stuff is always happening around him, and then it circles back to him.
Right.
Is what I'm expecting.
That would sort of make sense with whatever they're going for with the whole Legends thing, because that's what I thought you were talking about, Alex, is because we got Legends Arceus, which was the starting of the Gen
Sinnoh.
3 region.
Sinnoh 4.
Yes.
Sinnoh region.
Gen 4? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, not necessarily always going to the past, but more or less taking lore stuff that we got hints of back in the original generation games and delving further into them. So, like, this AZ may be very good in just Luminous City, as John mentioned, the building of it and creation of it.
Yeah.
Which probably may lead into this Great War or whatever.
Yeah. I
don't know Pokemon lore.
I know Game Freak said that this is going to be like their most ambitious project yet. So like I'm really going to take it as like I know people I saw on Twitter people taking like the map of the original game and the blueprint they showed. It's like it's basically the same city. I get that, but like we're going from a handheld game to like a full Switch game. I'm going to expect everything to just be bigger. You know what I mean? It's going to be bigger. Like that is that's the expectation they're laying out, that it's just going to be bigger, and that's what I think it's going to be. Like I think it's going to be very different than what we remember. I really do.
You look at that. I mean, you could load it up on a DS right now. You can walk around that city in 10 seconds on that game because it's scaled to be for you to only go to like the Pokemon Center, the tower, and head out.
Yeah, and all the
It's
stores.
like that's
there is a lot of stores.
it's like
but
yeah, it's like there's some stores to go to, but it's like it is very much scaled to. Here's your like 5 points of interest to go to. Now move about your way. Whereas this is going to be everything's going to be bigger. There's going to be a lot more to do, especially since the game seems to be focused. Okay, here is the game. You're in this city. Go explore. Go figure it out. It's like, of course, everything's going to be bigger. There's going to be more details. There's going to be more going on. It's like I wouldn't be surprised if, as you play through the game, as time is going past, the city is being built and things are changing around you.
right.
It's like that's another thing to keep in mind with it is it's like there could be aspects of the story that change the way everything looks in that city while you're playing it. Doesn't matter. It's like we're comparing it to a handheld DS map.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be vastly different.
Here's one question I want to throw out. Do you think they're going to keep their current gameplay style that we've gotten with Scarlet, Violet, and Legends, or do you think they're going to experiment again and we're going to get something different again?
That's going to be the interesting thing because like I feel like we're going to potentially. That's so tough because they also teased Megas to return at the end of it, which makes sense. Gen 6 is where it was introduced.
Yeah.
But so like that's very challenging to answer. I really don't know because like they're obviously clearly doing something very different with this game. So it's just like, are they going to just do something different with the combat, similar to what Legends Arceus did? Are you going to copy paste Legends Arceus combat, or are you going to do what like Scarlet and Violet did? I don't know. That's a great question.
I'm gonna safely put my hat in that. I'm hoping with the Legends games, since they're taking a different viewpoint on the games and whatnot, they're also experimenting with the gameplay with these. So I would like to see another sort of battle system that they want to play with.
I would assume something similar to Legends. Legends Arceus, like where it's like they're not necessarily taking away from that; they're just building upon it or changing things that maybe they saw as needed to be fixed for a different or like their next iteration.
Yeah.
So it's like I assume the basics of that combat and that gameplay will be there, and it'll just be alterations made to it.
Yeah, I definitely can see that where it's just like, all right, let's look at everything that we did right. Okay, let's look at where we kind of dropped the ball a little bit. Let's look at where people like, okay, we wish we saw this, we wish we saw that, and what can we do? Because I know like one random example, in terms of just the overall game, is like people really wish there was competitive play with Legends Arceus because there was really cool Pokemon. Granted, they're available now to get transferred up, right? But it's like those were some really interesting Pokemon with those past the Hisuian designs, right? So it's like, is this game going to feature competitive, especially since you're going to bring back Megas? Are you just going to leave Megas really out to die and not have a competitive scene for it? Like that's going to be the interesting thing, because also you got to keep in mind, like if they don't put competitive in this, it's going to be even longer that the VGC scene will be staying in Scarlet and Violet, because one massive W about this game, it's not coming out this year. It's coming out next year, which is kind of a surprise. No Pokemon game this year. For the first time ever in back-to-back years, we do not have a new Pokemon game coming out, because last year came out was DLC year. So we have not had, this is the first time ever that you're going to have back-to-back years with no new Pokemon game, which is pretty interesting. They're learning from their mistakes.
Well, that's what I was going to mention is you got to keep in mind that, like you asked about competitive, they can't necessarily make Legends it can't be like competitive for VGC for Legends necessarily. You can't really do that, because if you were to release that, I mean, that just delays, like that in itself delays your next Pokemon game, your mainline game from coming out. Unless that's the plan, is to switch over to that format and use it as opposed to like the mainline games. Because if you were to use like Legends Z and have Mega Evolution in that, well then your competitive like VGC format there would have to have the Mega Evolutions like they are available in that game.
Yeah.
And if your next Gen 10 doesn't have Mega Evolutions or whatever its gimmick is, you can't run them both simultaneous. You have to pick which one you're going to be. And so it's like you can't have both games come out and both have competitive formats because just that's not how they operate.
You're right, it's not. But what if they just decide to move on to Scarlet and Violet and focus on Legends ZA if it has a full competitive scene?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is that you can only do that if your next Pokemon game does not come out at all that year.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, great point because
if it were to come out that year, then by default that's your next competitive because that's the next mainline game.
That's a great point because like let's look at it realistically. Assuming that we stay on a good little pace here, like the next like Gen 10 is going to come out in probably 2026 or 2027, so it's like a year, maybe 2 years of this game, which is pretty kind of standard. I feel like it's usually about 3 years of for a single game, so that's a good point. So I don't know. That's going to be the interesting thing to see if they include anything like that, or if they even include the option to do battling, but just not have a competitive scene for it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, it looks like they might because if you look at that trailer, there is a small shot where it looks like there is 2 trainers actually dueling somewhere in the city, like a city center.
That's where I think the turf war is going to come in, like what you're saying. I think we're going to have some turf wars, boys.
Yeah. Which, like one thing to keep in mind with that is, if this did become their new like interim game and it's going to be around for a little bit, maybe they did see the problems with Scarlet and Violet. Maybe they do think like we have to wait for the next Switch to come out, or we have to give it time to cook and actually make a good design game that runs well so that we don't completely destroy our fan base.
Again,
maybe they do just stick with this. But then that's the thing. That'd be the weird thing of going back to Mega Evolution again.
Yeah.
Because, well, Mega Evolution for the casual player is a very loved thing. I don't think it's that much so for competitive.
Actually, it is. People love it.
Well, it in a sense, but it is one of those things where it's probably you get because not all. It's the same thing with all Pokemon. Not all Megas are created equally.
Yeah, that's very true. No,
so it can get kind of stale in that sense.
Yeah. Honestly, from all of the competitive players that I follow, if there's going to be a gimmick, honestly, a lot of them are toss-ups between Megas or Terra, in the current gen. Dynamax is also talked about, but no one likes Z moves. No one likes Z moves. Honestly, everyone just prefers Gen 5 competitive. That was like peak. That was peak for everyone.
Gen 5 was the equivalent. I mean, Z moves were just, what if we made Gen 5 battle mechanics slightly stronger?
Yeah, basically.
Because it was the same thing. It was just you had gems instead of crystals.
But no, I mean, overall, like this is really exciting for Pokemon because this is made by Game Freak. It's not coming out this year. It's being given time to cook. So, like, that's a big W. And honestly, just the fact that we're going back to Kalos in this and giving the game, I mean, you're giving it the title of Pokemon Z, but Pokemon Z that, like, we all expected to get once upon a time, and they're just like, now here's Sun and Moon. You know what I mean? And Sun and Moon had very clear Pokemon Z mechanics and aspects thrown in with, like, the Zygrad cells and stuff like that, the Ash Greninja. Pokemon Z was in development. And they had to just pull the plug because the Pokemon cycle is ruthless, and they just had to move on to Gen 7. So I'm because of that, Kalos X and Y are the most shafted generation of Pokemon by far. There's still a section in X and Y that was supposed to be like an event later. It was supposed to be Volcarainen, I believe. It's the power plant, where you can walk up and interact with someone. It's like, oh, there's the power plant. It's like, I can't go there, whatever. It's like, it's still that way to this day. It's like nothing ever happened with it. It's like, those are the most shafted games in Pokemon. So it's like, it's cool to see that we're getting something for Kalos. That's a massive W in
Yeah,
itself.
which is super disappointing because
They're good
Kalos-
games. They're good games.
Kalos,
Great
Kalos
story.
is one of my favorite regions. Like it might be like just not like game wise, but region wise, it might be my favorite.
It's not my favorite, but it's one of my favorite stories because,
Yeah,
like, the fact
yeah.
that we literally see a city get like nuked in the game at towards the end, whatever. Like, that's awesome. Like, whoa, this is a Pokemon game.
Yeah, it's like setting wise, it actually places that you travel into in the game, and that it's at least in my top 2.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love X and Y. Story is great. I love a lot of the Pokemon. While it's one of the, I think it's still to this day the smallest decks, like region decks that we've ever got in terms of new ones. I think it's still the smallest. So overall, top to bottom got shafted. So I also hope with this game we get some new Kalos mons. That would also be really sick. But Pokemon Legends ZA, just another big announcement that's being stacked up for 2025 and what's going to be another stacked year of gaming.